Disclaimer, I'm not a licensed professional. This video is just for educational and entertainment purposes. Also, we'll be discussing ED, so viewers' discretion is advised. In America, 9% or 28.8 million people are affected by an ED at some point in their lifetime, with around 10,000 deaths related to ED a year. There are many types of ED, with the most common being binge eating disorder, but American Dad decided to focus on the other side of the spectrum. Anorexia nervosa is an ED that affects around 0.6% of the adult population in America. The most common symptoms of this disorder are self-starvation, change in body image, and low body weight. In Season 2, Episode 2, The American Dad After School Special, Stan is seen going through these symptoms as he struggles with his body image after meeting Debbie, the quote-unquote fat girlfriend. I mean, she's not even fat, but okay. Stan's obsession with Debbie's weight shifts to his own body insecurity after the family calls him out on his hypocrisy.
They're right, Stan. You've let yourself go.
This leads to Stan spiraling into overdrive to lose weight, but as the episode progresses, we only see him become more and more consumed by his disorder. His ED manifests as an imaginary person, Zach, a hyper-masculine bodybuilder who constantly berates Stan about his weight. Zach isolates Stan from his family, amplifying Stan's paranoia and justifying his disorder. Consistently seeing himself as disgusting, Stan belittles himself to push onward in losing more weight. It gets so bad that the family holds an intervention scared for Stan's well-being. This is when we learn the truth. We've been seeing Stan through his own eyes. While he thinks he's overweight and unhealthy, in reality, he's severely underweight and unwell. Though his family enrolls him in an anorexic alliance to help him recover, but this backfires when Veronica, a teenage girl in the program, teaches Stan how to purge. Another telling sign of anorexia nervosa emerges here: deceit around food and the continuation of harmful behaviors. The family believes Stan is in recovery, but he's secretly throwing away his food to maintain his disorder. It's only when Steve, frustrated and hurt, tells Stan off that he realizes the damage he's caused, not only to himself, but everyone around him.
I broke up with Debbie because I thought it would help you, and you weren't even trying?
Finally, Stan chooses to get better. Watching Stan's journey, we can see how American Dad taps into the real, often painful experience of anorexia nervosa. But behind the humor, the episode captures the essence of how this disorder affects individuals, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Anorexia nervosa isn't just a struggle with food, it's deeply tied to how individuals perceive themselves, and sometimes to other mental issues. People with this disorder often see themselves as overweight, even when they're dangerously underweight. This warped self-image becomes a cycle. No matter how much weight is lost, it's never enough. The show captures this through Stan's hallucinations of his overweight self, which keeps pushing him to lose more and more weight, even when he's already too thin. In real life, this type of distorted body image is one of the most debilitating parts of anorexia. This psychological symptom is known as body dysmorphia, and it can significantly impact how someone with anorexia behaves. They might engage in extreme dieting, exercise, or other unhealthy behavior because they cannot accept their true physical form. A key element in Stan's behavior is his growing paranoia and isolation. Zach, the imaginary bodybuilder, isolates Stan from his family, and Stan becomes increasingly distrustful of everyone who tries to help him. This is another critical aspect of anorexia: the belief that others are either sabotaging or jealous of their progress. When Stan's family attempt to intervene and express concern, he sees it as an attack on him rather than an attempt to help.
Liars! You are sabotaging my veggies to keep me fat.
This is something that many people with anorexia experience in real life. They may feel as though others don't understand their struggle and as a result become defensive or withdraw from loved ones. This isolation often leads to even greater harm as those with anorexia continue to engage in their disordered behavior in secret. The trust that should exist between a person with an ED and their family is often fractured because the individual feels misunderstood or persecuted. This leads us to another heavy truth about EDs: the emotional and mental toll they take on those around the person suffering. In this episode, we see how Stan's obsession with his body alienates him from his family and even from Steve's relationship with Debbie. While this is exaggerated for comedic effect, it highlights a real truth. Eating disorders are not only self-destructive, they affect everyone in the person's life. Loved ones are often left in a difficult position of trying to help somebody who refuses to acknowledge their problem. For those supporting someone with an ED, there is the added burden of watching the person deteriorate, feeling powerless to intervene. In real life situations, this can create a strain in friendship, marriage, and familial bonds. Caregivers and family members often experience burnout, frustration, and emotional distress as they feel trapped between wanting to help and dealing with the individual's resistance. Dan's journey in this episode shows us that recovery from anorexia is neither simple nor guaranteed. He joins an anorexic alliance in an attempt to seek help, but instead of getting better, he learns to purge his food, essentially reinforcing his eating disorder. This is a dark reminder that recovery from anorexia isn't linear. It's often full of setbacks, relapse, and complications. For those with anorexia, behaviors like food restriction, binging, or purging can feel like the only way to regain control in a world that feels out of their grasp. Even when people with anorexia are in treatment, they may not fully engage in the recovery process. The desire for control over food and body image can overpower the need for actual healing. This is why it's crucial to have professional support and to be surrounded by people who are educated about the complexity of eating disorders. So we come to the end of the video and my biggest takeaway. Ultimately, American Dad does an exceptional job of addressing the psychological aspect of anorexia, even as it uses humor to lighten the weight of the topic. The episode captures both the internal and external struggles that come with anorexia nervosa, the distorted body image, the isolation, the impact of relationship, and recovery. While the episode takes creative liberties, it is grounded in the real experience of individuals with eating disorders. It reminds us that anorexia is not just a diet gone wrong, it's a mental health issue that requires care, understanding, and interventions at times. If you or someone who knows is struggling with an eating disorder, it is important to seek help. Resources like the National Eating Disorder Association, or NEDA, provide support, hotlines, and treatment options for individuals with families alike. No one has to go through it alone. Well, that was my video on this episode of American Dad. If you liked the video, don't forget to comment on your thoughts below, like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell options for future videos. I'll see you next time.